Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Rush Racing League here, Division number 6 here in Jeddah. This is the penultimate race of the week. We have one more race tomorrow with Division 3, but right now it is time for Division number 6 to take to the streets of Jeddah around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. It's been a pretty chaotic race here at Jeddah for the last few divisions. So far, no repeat winners when it comes to the teams. There's been 4 different teams who have won in 4 different divisions, and I'm really looking forward to how this race is going to go. In the commentary box, it is myself, Ruckus, and alongside me is China. How are you today, mate?
Going great, Wreckers. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm looking forward to a great race here at Jeddah. 50 laps for Division 6 to get through, and that's quite a challenge here at Jeddah. How do you think we're going to go?
I mean, if Div 4 was anything, and actually Div 1 too, if those races are anything to go by, then it's going to be quite a bit of chaos here around this track. It's a very tricky track. You have to be extremely precise around here. You have to have machine-like precision, or else you're just going to end up tapping a wall, particularly around turn 4 is where I've heard the most complaints. And also, this track can be a little tricky with tires, although every track is tricky with tires in this current game. But I do have another question for you. How do you feel if we go ahead and send this one to the track?
Let's go for it, mate. It's yeah, a lot of speed and a lot of high speed corners. So it's a recipe for disaster. Let's see how we go.
All right, it is time. We are on track here today. It is singular qualifying here today, just because we do have that 100% race distance. So it's, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about this track? Because I personally love this track. It's a lot of fun to drive, but it's very easy to mess up.
Mate, I really enjoy the track when I get around clean, but I feel like it's the type of track that once you lose your groove, you're just in for a bad time, and it's easy to lose your mojo here at Jeddah. A couple of wall bumps that don't do too much carnage, but there's ripple strips that'll send you flying off, and it's mate, it's a lot to keep on top of, that's for sure.
Indeed, yeah. And we do have an onboard request for H-Town Realtor, so we're going to go ahead and jump on that. Once he begins his flying lap, we are currently on board with the other Sauber of Chevy Wolves. And yeah, so far, 4 different divisions and 4 different teams have won here so far. So that's a pretty interesting stat. I wonder if we can go 6 for 6 here. So let's go ahead and jump on board with H-Town as he's going to go ahead and make his way through this very tricky circuit here, making his way down the straight, going into the corner that I've heard a lot of people bump into. It's almost as diabolical as the Monaco chicane that everybody likes to hit, including myself. Now this track, I mean, it's also very easy to invalidate, and we know H-Town in recent times hasn't had the easiest go of things. He had a bit of trouble in Singapore during the evaluation races, and also in the NA division when we raced in Canada. It's been a bit of a tough time for him. He's definitely going to look for a good return to form as he makes his way through the hairpin of turn number 13, making his way. And there's a lot of corners on this track, 27 corners. I think it's one of, if not the most, in the entirety of Formula One. But now he's going to go ahead and turn on the DRS, make his way down the DRS section, going into turn number 22, 23, and then now 24, and now after the exit of 25, it is a massive straight, full speed up until you reach the hairpin of the final corner of turn number 27. He's going to be hard on the brakes, and then he's going to go ahead and just put foot to the floor as Yogg sets the first fastest time of the session with a 1:29.061. Good time there from the Ferrari man. He's going to come across the line. H-Town's going to send it. The Houston native jumping straight up into P1 for now, and that was a fantastic starter lap.
That was an amazing lap. Getting into a 128.5 out of the gates. That's a great effort for Div 6. I think that outdid us last night in Div 5. So he's yeah, moving along there.
Yeah, and actually that's probably a faster lap than I could do, although granted, I think they would have to create a Div 7 for me to compete. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, this track. It's very tricky. Very hard to really get your good lines going here as we jump on board with the other Sauber for a bit. But now we're going to jump straight down to the McLaren of Maki, of Jay Maki here. Going to go ahead and try to get his battery up to go ahead and try to send a lap through. So yeah, it's gonna be
Seems to
interesting to
be
see how
getting out
this.
of the way, is Mackie, yeah.
Yep, he is indeed, as he lets the Williams and the Haas go by. So he is definitely not on a lap. So yeah, any predictions for tonight? Because this is the first race of this division here this season, outside of the evals.
Mate, there's some experienced drivers in here, some familiar names, but there's also some new names there. H Town Realtors, obviously set down a cracking lap out of the gates there. He's got half a second on Yog, so that's obviously the time to beat at the moment. But let's see how we go. I'm expecting good things from drivers like TMT. We know Chevy Wolves can be competitive, but mate, it looks like there is some speed on this track today. So H-Town, Yog, and Breadman, all within half a second of each other, and then it's another 1.5 out to the next best in the Haas drivers there. So I think we're going to be on for a competitive field tonight.
Yeah, indeed. But the thing that we do know is that it's quite a bit of a difference between the one lap pace and then obviously try to keep up that pace lap after lap after lap for 50 of them. And I mean, this is one of the few 100% races we have on the counter here this season. And it's a bit of a chaotic start to the season here because and I was actually reading through the Division 4 chat earlier. The stewards had a bit of a time with the Division 4 group, and one of the stewards was asking, hey, can we try to keep the incidents clean? Because we spent 2 hours trying to get through all the tickets. And then the immediate next line was, next week is Monaco. Kind of sums it up
Mate,
there. The
at
response is
least
some.
we've got a benchmark for how long it takes. I think
Yeah.
they might be in for a little longer than 2 hours next week, that's for sure.
Yeah, there was something said after that, but can't say it on stream. But it's pretty much the sentiment of, well, crap. Um, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we have these two like kind of polar opposite tracks just about back to back. They're so different yet so similar when it comes to just how those two tracks operate. Yes, one is pretty much primarily high speed, and the other one is pretty much low speed constantly. But they both have walls that can bite. It is obviously both street circuits, and also just in general, it's really tricky to try to get a move done here, just like Monaco. Although granted, anything's easy to try to get a move done at Monaco. I could probably get a move done down I-75 quicker than somebody can get a move done at Monaco. But all things considered, the two tracks are pretty similar in terms of difficulty.
Well, if the overtakes aren't too bad here at Jeddah, but that means you can also be overtaken quite easily. So wings play a big role. I know there was a few people making the call that they'd be running 0-0. It slows you down in the corners, but gets you going on the straights there. It's not a bad strategy, mate. But you got to think as the tyre wear gets on, that's you're gonna have a lot of trouble keeping that race pace. As you mentioned earlier, quality speed is one thing, but maintaining that over the course of 50 laps, that's a whole other deal. And when you've got fast drivers around you, it becomes a lot more about skill than just straight line pace. So I'll be interested to see how we roll through here tonight. We've almost got the whole field having set a lap there, so the last sort of 5 cars to go. We can see Uncle Morty's getting out, MSG overloaded on their out lap. Interestingly, we've got Jackal and David just sort of hanging back in the pits.
Yeah, currently on board with DM, aka the Red Bull team principal, making his way through the track now. He is going through sector number 2 right now, getting low on the fuel there, but the lighter the fuel load, the faster the car. He's got a good amount of battery that he's going to burn in this final DRS section. Getting a good amount of his toe from his teammate, and the toe can be very strong around this track, but the tricky is trying to navigate through the dirty air on the really technical sections of this track. I mean, like I said earlier, this track has 27 corners, and I mean, you're going medium to high speed throughout a good chunk of them. So we'll see where his time's going to go. And it's 1.5 seconds off of the pole position time set by H-Town. So that is a very good lap there from the Houston native and also from the Red Bull. Now, one of the two drivers who has yet to set a lap is going to go to begin his lap. MSG overloaded, and China, I'll pass this one on to you.
All right, and so we've got. Oh, mate, I've just lost stream. Sorry, give me a sec.
Well,
I'll have to get you to take over. I've just frozen.
It's fine. Uncle Morty, or sorry, not Uncle Morty, MSG invalidated his lap anyway, so I'll go take it with Uncle Morty, making his way through sector number 2, and he's gonna go ahead and put his foot down and try to make as much time as possible. He wants to get at least close to his teammate. If not that, then he really wants to go ahead and try to push to also get within that top 10. Now, unlike normal qualifying here at Rush Racing League, this is just a singular qualifying session. Normally we do a full quali, then a 50% race. This time we've swapped it around. Obviously we are doing the one qualifying session that sets the entirety of the grid. So this will set P1 through P20 as opposed to just eliminating the bottom 5 drivers. But we're going to go ahead and make our way through with Uncle Morty. We'll see what his time is going to be. And it's good enough for P8, a 1:29.810, 1.2 seconds off of the pole man H-Town.
Yeah, Reckers. So if we start at the top there, mate, we've got a variety of times here. Still a 1:28.5 to beat, over to a 1:29, and looks like we've got the next 7 drivers in the 1:29s there. And as we get down the field, we're into the 1:30s and 1:31s, 1:32s at the trailing in there. So not too bad. It's a pretty tight grid across the board there, with the exception of H-Town. They've really set a cracking lap out of the gates. But with the short quali, we know it's not about the first lap; it's about the last lap. So there's still some time for everyone else to catch up.
Indeed, yeah. And also, not to mention, we know that this track will get really rapid once the track rubbers in. And so you probably will see the most representative lap times around the last 2 to 3 minutes, give or take. So, yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes. But I actually want to talk about the Haas's real quick. Because the Haas's right now, as we're on board with MJP, so far, I mean, they're P6 and or P7 and P8 right now, so a very good start to Haas right now. Obviously, RBs are having a little bit of a better start, P5 and P6, but so far, if we look at the winners from the rest of the divisions here, so far, there's not been any repeat winners, and if a Haas managed to get a win here tonight, that statistic would continue. The teams that have wins at the moment, if we don't count the North America division, because I believe that would give us a repeat, but it is Ferrari, Red Bull, Sauber, and Alpine with race wins so far this season. So, are we going to see a 5th team get a win here? We'll just have to find out.
Mate, you'd have to think that the RBs and the Haas are in with a chance, mate. They're very tight with each other. It's good to see that those two teams have obviously picked up some drivers at a similar pace. That can help around a track like Jeddah. You can sort of work the toe and keep yourself up in the field. But as you're saying a bit earlier, the dirty air, it is catastrophic around this track. You get yourself tucked in too close behind the car in front, and you're in for a wild ride.
Especially with this generation of cars being so susceptible to getting negatively affected by the dirty air. I mean, these cars, especially with the ground effect too, because the ground effect basically just vacuums this car to the ground. And when you get disrupted airflow, you can lose basically about 50% downforce through a lot of these corners. So you got to be really, really careful to not spin out under the dirty air. But, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I mean, once again, race pace and quali pace are usually two separate things. Some drivers do pretty good in it. Others not so much. But the question I want to know, I don't know if you saw the Division 4 race, but it was probably my favorite moment from that race, and I was gonna hop on board with a Ferrari to talk about this, but they're both in the pits. Um, do you think we'll see anyone misclick and jump onto the wet tires here today, as there is a Aston Martin just kind of parked there, just maybe catching a nap? Um, I know it's late for some time zones, but yeah, it was interesting seeing that Aston just kind of parked there at the exit of what I
Yeah.
believe is turn
Not
25.
quite the time for a for a nap, is
At least wait till you get to the pits, man. Come on.
it?
I mean, I would understand it if H Town or Yog, which actually Yog actually is up in the first place right now. I just noticed that a 128.299, so 3/10 of a second ahead of H Town. So the American drivers are doing pretty solid, despite the fact that the time zone is not cooperative.
Absolutely, mate, and they are cracking speeds for Div 6. I think the rest of the field's going to have quite a bit of a challenge keeping up with that. We might have found our top qualifiers quite early on. Yog and H Town really setting the pace here. Got half a second on the next best out to still a 129.087 from Breadman. So it'd be interesting to see if the field can really tighten that up and also get into those low 128s. I know in Div 5, mate, I was struggling to get beyond the 128.5, so I think they're doing exceptionally well.
They may even get promoted too. They may actually get promoted to. You might be racing against these guys in the near future. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky with the evaluations, right? I mean, some drivers are. It was a thing pretty much all last season where insert driver belongs in insert division here. Like, um, when I commentated Div 2, there was a few times where someone would say like, "Oh yeah, insert driver needs to go to Div 1," and you see that quite a bit. And when it comes to the evaluations, it's kind of tricky because some drivers just don't do it certain tracks. I mean, the tracks we went to, um, the last evaluation track being Singapore was easily the trickiest of the bunch, and there's also weather involved with Singapore, so that one some drivers just don't do well in the wet. I can do okay-ish in the wet, but yeah, some drivers just really don't like driving in the wet. And Singapore had a good amount of weather shenanigans tied to it. So did the North America race actually on Saturday for Canada. Had some weird weather shenanigans there as well. Obviously, we're not going to see any of that here, despite what the Ferrari did on Sunday, pitting in for wets on a perfectly dry track in the middle of the Middle East. But I've seen weirder things happen.
Absolutely, yeah. The evaluation races are always a tricky thing, Like a driver can have a couple of bad weeks. They can have a couple of weeks where they don't get to practice, and I think the main thing to remember there is that for the better part across the board, it looks like most drivers are placed correctly. But of course, you're going to have exceptions. There's drivers who do very well in the eval races and end up in a division that might be a little bit too high for their racecraft. And you get the inverse as well. You get drivers who might have ended up in a lower division than they should be in. And that's why we've got a plan of attack to get those drivers replaced throughout the year. So look, could be on the cards for some of these guys to move up, but tonight this is who's on track and this is who they've got to beat.
Indeed, yeah. And actually, the end of qualifying really snuck up on us here as it is pretty much the final laps for everybody here. We'll actually hop on board with the Sauber of H-Town. He's going to be close to finishing up the lap, so quite a few drivers finishing up their laps. We'll see if anyone can usurp the Americans in the Oceanic divisions here at Rush Racing League. So we'll see. H-Town's going to come across here, going through turn 27, the hairpin. If you get a good exit here, you have to get really close to the wall, but you get so much speed out of the corner. He's hugging the inside line. He's pretty much burned up any bit of battery he has. And it's an improvement in time, but not an improvement in place. Yogg right now still is the driver to beat. He's not improving, but I don't think anyone else behind him really is. So, an interesting spread here for qualifying, and that's a Ferrari spinning
Ooh,
around into the wall. And I
Oh
mean,
no.
he's lucky that there isn't more damage on that car. Ooh!
That could have been disastrous.
It was disastrous. I think he
Oh.
just pulled out in front
Oh
of
no.
someone. He did, yeah. He pulled out
Oh
in front of
no.
someone. I don't know who he pulled out in front of, but all right, we're gonna go and run through our qualifying here. So our grid for this race is gonna be Yogg, then H-Town, Chevy Wolves, Breadman, Jackal, D White, Striker, Filthy Orange, Paulin, MJP, TMT, Uncle Morty, DMAU, then Drew Zillakilla, Larkins, Keeper, Hayden Skates, Shaz, MSG, and J Mackey, rounding out our grid. So that was a bit of a weird one. Yeah, we'd have to look at that. The stewards would 100% have to look at that.
You'd have to think that's going to end up on an onboard for sure.
Yeah, Yogg re-entry
Right
to
at the
be
end of
investigated. Oh,
qualifying,
so
but
it's TMT that he collided with. So, eesh. Yeah, you gotta wonder. I mean, sometimes that kind of
mm,
thing just happens. It sucks when it happens, but it does happen sometimes. But um, yeah, we've seen some pretty rough rejoins here. But once again, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, China, where you join a new division, or you may be new to league racing in general. You kind of have to get used to how everything is like, and even if you've been racing with, say, Rush Racing League since the beginning of the league, you just get with a new group of drivers, and you're just gonna have to learn how those drivers kind of react and what their driving style is. And that's something that is never gonna be perfect in the first race of the season. It'll just happen as the season goes on.
absolutely. No one's born with race awareness. You got to develop it over time. It takes a bit of practice, and it takes some, it takes some competitive racing to really build up that part of your skill set. I know I'm still working on it. I think I've got a lot better over the past year, but this is only my second season with Rush, and even I've got some room to improve there as well. Race awareness is a big factor. So yeah, definitely learning how to get your rejoin and when just to sit off to the side. That's something you'll pick up over time, and let's hope he learns from that little experience there. That could have been disastrous if that was in race. That's for sure.
Indeed, yeah, we've seen it happen in race a few times over the seasons, and we're about to go ahead and get going here. We see those 5 red lights coming on now, and it's lights out, and away we go. We're gonna see how this race turns out. Turn 1 is dangerous around this track. Yogg does get a very good launch, and we're gonna see some positions changing up that field. There's a Haas getting turned around. That is D White getting turned around there. A little bit of contact, sending the Haas tumbling down the order. And we've already seen several positions change throughout the duration of the race. Heading back up to the front now, we have the Ferrari of Yogg, who is putting on a rocket ship level of pace. And there's a caution in the back that luckily got resolved pretty quickly. I think it was Jay Mackey having a bit of a moment as we make it to the hairpin just at the end of Sector 1. A pretty, I mean, it's a little bit of a chaotic turn 1, but that's typically how it is in Jeddah because of just how sharp that turn 1 is. But if we gotta talk about anything, that pace from Yogg is just on another level.
Well, he's broken DRS already, 1.3 out in front, so that's fantastic. If you can maintain that, that gives you a massive advantage getting through the race here. Unless, of course, there's a safety car. I'm really surprised that Div 6 got through that first sector without a safety. They've actually done quite well there. There was a bit of a spin, but everyone's moving along, so that's really good to see, Wreckers. I'm yeah, a little bit proud of Div 6 there. I think they've dealt with that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I commented on the first Division 6 race last season. Or, well, last season was the first race for Division number 6. Last season was the first race for Division 6. I don't know if I said that correctly initially, but regardless. Yeah, I got to commentate the first race for Div 6, and Div 6 is pretty surprising because, granted, yes, it is the lowest tier in Rush Racing League, but these drivers are still wicked fast and wicked talented. I mean, Yogg is already almost 2 seconds ahead of H-Town just in the opening stage, but even then, you look at these top, or these P2 and P3 of H-Town and Breadman, they're both pulling away from Chevy. So, I mean, And we know Chevy is an established driver here in Rush Racing League, but he's under a lot of pressure right now from the McLaren of Jackal. But it just shows how quick these drivers can be. That established drivers are having trouble keeping up with some of these newer drivers here in the division.
Absolutely, Wreckers, absolutely. Can we get the place movements on there and see what position movements we've had? But looks like there's been a lot of changes throughout lap 1 and onto lap 2.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's going to be an interesting race. But Yog 2.5 out in front already, and then if we get down to position 3 there, position 4 out to Jackal is 2.7. So definitely a lead pack forming. Well, it looks like Yog might have made a mistake here. He's just lost over a second.
Yeah, I might have went deep there. Turn 27. I mean, you're going so fast going into that hairpin that I mean, there's a very good possibility that you can just go ahead and just misjudge your braking zone and just send it way too deep, and then you pretty much just got to try to wheel it back, but you can lose a lot of time there. I think he's lost even more time because he's now almost within DRS range of H-Town as we are on board with Breadman at the moment. But yeah, talking about the movers here, I mean, D. White obviously is the driver who's moved the furthest down. He's down 11 positions because of getting turned around in turn 1, lap 1. But the biggest mover so far is MJP, who is currently in P5. He's up 5 positions, funny enough. And he's about 5/10 away from chasing down Chevy Wolves to jump up into 4th. The number 13 Haas is doing pretty excellent on his debut here.
That's an absolutely cracking start. 5 positions up and gaining on position 4. So we might have a competitor there in MPJ as he really hones in on Chevy Wolves and tries to catch up that gap. Moving down the order there, we've got 7, 8, and 9 still in their original positions. And Filthy there moving up a place into place 7. So it's looking good, mate. I'm liking the start of this race. The Div 6 is doing very well.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Division 6 is on fire right now. They're putting up a fantastic race. I think at this point we already had a safety car in Division 4, and I think Division 1 as well. Someone will have to correct me on that, but we do have a McLaren coming into the pits, so Jackal's into the pits. He might have damage on that McLaren. We'll just have to see as he makes his way into the pits. He's jumping onto the hard tire. Yeah, he's missing an end plate. That front right end plate is gone off of the number 3 McLaren as we go ahead and jump back, and oh, something must have happened here. Breadman has jumped H-Town, although granted, considering how strong DRS is here, maybe it was just a move made on track and no mistake, but once again, Yog is just Yog gone at this point. Oh, that was a stretch for a pun, but regardless, Yog is very far out ahead right now.
That was a great try for a pun, mate. We won't criticise you on that one. As we get down the field there, so we've got Jackal who's pitted and gone in for the repair. I can tell you from personal experience last night, the getting that wing replacement out of the way early, that's worthwhile. You cannot get around here effectively missing an end plate, especially if it's your right end plate missing. It is a hard slog trying to keep it on track here. So he's going to have a bit of a challenge in front of him catching back up. He might get the grace of a safety later on, but we'll see.
I think that might be coming sooner rather than later, because I did see a end plate fly way off Chevy car. Actually, a good chunk of his front wing is missing, so the Sauber of Chevy Wolves not having the greatest of nights. I think he had a little bit of contact with MJP going through some of the really tight parts of Sector 1. So yeah, Chevy's going to come in too, and yeah, if you can't survive around this track without that front end plate, then missing a good majority of your front right wing is definitely, yeah, that's definitely going to be a struggle bus task. But Stryker, seemingly out of left field, has just jumped up into P4, so he's jumped MJP, maybe as a result due to the contact between the Haas and the Sauber earlier on. But Stryker is up into P4 right now, so that is a good start. He is up 3 positions compared to his last time. But we'll see how this one goes, because once again, we're just about a 10th of the way through this Grand Prix.
Absolutely. And as we see Yogg's maintaining that sort of 2.5 second lead there, you have to wonder how hard's he pushing the car. Is he degrading the tyres super quick? Because that's another factor around here you've got to remember is the harder you push, the tyres get off very quickly. So be interesting to know if how many of these drivers are going for the 1 or 2 stop. You'd have to think a lot of them are going to be up for a 2 stop if they've copped a little bit of damage along the way. But we'll see how that unfolds. Getting down to position 4 there, we've got a 5.8 second gap, which is, mate, that's a tough run on any track trying to catch that up. But if you can do it anywhere it's here, you've just got to work with the drivers around you. So a bit of teamwork, even if they're not on your team, it goes a long way here.
Indeed, yeah, and also I mean, this track is very notorious for being a safety car magnet, so it just takes one driver going a bit too hard on the brakes, two drivers fighting a bit too hard, and the safety car can really just bunch this field back up again. So if you're a Yog, you really do not want that to happen, and we have received a onboard request, not with the Ferrari up front, but the Ferrari currently in the P12 of Larkins. So we're going to go ahead and fulfill that request. We're going to hop on board now with Larkins throughout the rest of this lap, and we'll get, because we kind of joined him halfway through the lap, we'll give him another little bit of time in the spotlight to honor that request. He's got the Roscoe helmet on, the British Bulldog, giving him a little bit of extra fan power as he's trying to make his way down the straight into the first hairpin at the end of the first sector. He's going to go ahead and punch it, but yeah, even then, Larkins is about 3.5 seconds away from Uncle Morty, so I mean, what would you do if you're Larkins here? Because you got a good gap to the car behind you and a good gap to the car in front, so you're kind of just on track by yourself at this point.
You got to take advantage of that time when you're out in the clear. I reckon it's not a bad track for being on your own with a bit of space in front and behind. You sort of you can avoid all that dirty air. You can really just lock yourself in and try and keep it as tidy as possible. There's a lot of time to be gained here through the corners. So if you can get those corners nailed down, especially the switchbacks, you're going to pick up a bit of time as you get around. But we can see he's sort of just dropping off there now, 3.9 behind Uncle Morty, as Uncle Morty switches up into position 10, and Drew Zilla is. Oh, what's happened to Drew? Drew Zilla's dropped down into 12th now. So, Larkins has moved up into 11. And Drew's in the pits.
Yeah, Drew is indeed in the pits. So, yeah, the thing with, yeah, you really got to take advantage of that clean air, just because, I mean, but you also have to be consistent enough to not make any mistakes, although it's going to be a pretty tough task, because if you look at the Red Bull, he's pretty much in DRS range of his teammate, so that's going to really make Larkin's job all the tougher to get within the top 10. Now, if you are new to Rush, as long as you finish in the top 15, you're going to get points. We do have an extended point format compared to real life Formula 1. So instead of just the top 10, it is the top 15, as we are seeing that there's positions being traded between Filthy Orange and MJP. Mercedes actually having a pretty decent night here, all things considered. P2 and P5, not too shabby to kick off the season here in Div 6.
They're doing very well. I raced alongside Filthy last season in Div 6, and he is a great teammate to have, and it's really good to see him up in the top 5 there today. We are early on, but it's great to see him in the top 5 there. I think he deserves it. He's obviously put some practice in, and got a bit of a job in front of him. He's got to catch up that gap and get into the DRS so he can really be competitive, as we see him and MPJ swap positions there. Have a little nudge through through that sector there, but nothing dangerous. Just a little love tap. Let him know that you're there.
Yeah, I mean, this
and
is
then
really.
Out on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, mate. You go.
I was just gonna say, this is really emphasizing what you said earlier about teamwork despite not being on the same team. I mean, they got a mighty tough gap that they really got to try to reel in. I mean, sooner rather than later would be ideal, but they still have a very long race to go. It is only 8 laps out of 50. You still got 42 laps to go, including this current lap. So, I mean, it's there's still a lot of time for things to happen. There's obviously a safety car that could happen. There's pretty much just a lot of things that could really take place in this race that would allow Orange and MJP or MPJ and pretty much everybody else behind to really get a good chance to catch up. We're going to actually drop down to a battle here potentially forming between Poland and TMT. TMT, the driver who might benefit from Yog actually getting a penalty for the incident in qualifying earlier, the unsafe rejoin. Obviously, that will be applied post race. And once the stewards get a good chance to review it, hopefully it doesn't take 2 hours like it did in Division 4, according to the good man Vettel. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been a steward, China, but it is such an unenviable position. But I have so much respect for them because of all the stuff they have to go through.
Absolutely. I can only imagine how the stewarding is. It might be, each individual driver probably has their own perspective on how they should go, but a steward's job is to follow the rules and apply them as best they can. And I can only imagine that there's some very tricky scenarios to consider there. So not a role I'd be putting my hand up for anytime soon, but I'm sure there's a little bit of joy and pride in it as well. It's a very important part of the league here, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what the outcomes are for stewarding throughout the year.
Yeah, I've been a steward on a few occasions. Yeah, it's really like you said. There are some really tricky situations, but that one is not a tricky situation at all. That one's pretty much right down the middle. J Mackey gets a penalty for track limit violations. He got 3 warnings and got hit with the 3-second time penalty. So if he goes over 3 more times, he will get an additional 3, and it just kind of stacks from there. So hopefully, in the case of this McLaren driver, then we do not get an additional bit of penalties for him. But we might have a battle once again for P2. Hopefully, I honestly think that these two really don't even need to battle up here. They really just need to do what MPJ and Filthy Orange were doing earlier and just kind of work together to close that gap up to Yog. Because right now, Yog is in a different zip code right now. He is just miles ahead.
I mean, if Yog keeps this up by the end of the race, mate, he's going to be sitting back having a tea, watching the rest of the field cross the line. So they need to do a lot of work in keeping that gap down to an absolute minimum. We see they're at 3.4 at the moment. You really need to cut down on that as soon as you can. If there's no safety cars, that's just going to keep climbing as the race progresses, especially if Yog can keep this pace on. I have to say that's cracking pace out of the gates to pick up nearly what was he, about 2 seconds after the second lap. That's amazing. That's not easy to do here, and looks like he had a really good start and just took advantage of it. Pump the ERS on and just build up as much gap as he could.
Yeah, even then, even if he does continue to kind of save on battery, like like you're able to do in these cars. I think actually it was after the last game where they added where you can manually switch like what ERS mode you're in. So that gives you a lot more freedom to kind of play with your strategy because if you pretty much save up that battery, once these two get to you, if they manage to catch up, then you could just turn on the battery and just continue to do damage limitation. Although considering the pace of Yogg right now, I don't think he'll even ever have to really come to that unless in the event of a safety car. But once again, anything can happen in racing, so we'll just have to see how it turns out. For being winners in an earlier division, Alpine are not doing super hot right now. P18 and P16. Actually, Alpine is our most recent winner, with Ados winning in Division 5 here in the Alpine. So kind of a unfortunate 180 for the French squad.
It'd be great to see the points spread across the manufacturers. Out. Oh,
Sorry to cut you off, but Chaz went very deep there into what I believe is turn 4, so he's gonna make Alpine's day just a little bit worse here in this race so far. But as you're saying,
Not too bad a rejoin there from Shaz though. Did their best to stay out of the way and let Chevy get past them. But yeah, it'd be good to see the points spread out at the start of the season. It'll certainly keep the constructors' championship a little bit more competitive as we move on. Anyone who doubles up on wins here, especially at the start of the season, they just they're obviously going to get that healthy lead out of the gate. So I quite like that it's spread out across all the manufacturers at the moment, or at least four of them. It'd be nice to see another one or two come into the fray for Div 6 and Div 3 tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think the best shot for that happening here in Div 6 to kind of keep up the trend of a new constructor winning every single race would be if Redman was able to go ahead and get into lead, but that gap has just continued to fall away from them. Now Yogg is about 4.2 seconds, but a much closer battle here is a battle for what could be P6, as Paulin is directly behind MPJ, who is also directly behind TMT as they make their way down through the first hairpin through Sector 1, and they go ahead and make the run into Sector 2. But, I mean, there's a lot of race still left to go, and just taking a look at the laps, I mean, most drivers are still on that original set, and these tires could go the distance. I mean, you could probably go just about half race distance if you're one of these drivers on the hards. The only driver that started on the hards that's still on them at the moment is Paulin, the Aston Martin currently in P8. But, I mean, what would you do in terms of tires? Would you have started on this medium compound, or would you have done the hards?
I think you've got to start on the mediums, anticipating a bit of early carnage, and it hasn't happened tonight. But I think starting on the mediums, that's definitely the move, and just seeing how it washes out from there. In saying that, Paul might have a little bit of an advantage here. It depends how far he can push those hards. I mean, I think somewhere around that sort of lap 25 to lap 30 bracket, that's not out of the equation. Just depends how hard he's having to push to keep up with all the medium runners today. So let's see how that unfolds.
I also do want to point out something that was mentioned in chat. I want to make a massive shout out to all the fantastic viewers we have currently on Twitch. Currently over 50 viewers on the stream. Absolutely fantastic. We love the support, guys. Thank you guys so much. Your support means the world to all of us here, and it means the world to all these fantastic drivers here. And speaking of a driver, we have another onboard lap request, this time not for the Haas we're currently on board with, but for D White, as he is actually just going ahead and beginning his lap as he's chasing down the Ferrari of Larkins. So we'll see how close the Haas can get to the Ferrari, although, well, one Ferrari is kind of out in the distance, although he is kind of losing that gap ever so slightly. But we're going to stick around on board with D White here as he's chasing the Ferrari. He's got DRS, he's got the speed, he's got the slipstream. He doesn't have to move yet, but he's got a little bit of contact against the wall. You can see the front right of the mediums, and that's a send if I've ever seen one.
Oh,
Off track, he had to give the place back, or else that would have been a penalty. So, I mean, good on Dwight, good racecraft to just kind of say like, well, that was illegal, so he just gave the position back. But he's looking for a more legal overtake this time. Oh, that's a very smart move. Forcing Larkins to break deep. He goes deep. D-White goes through. And that was very smart. We actually saw that a bit of Div 4, I believe, where we saw a little bit of the dummy move being applied, where you shape up like you're going to send it deep, and then you brake early, and then the other car has to brake late to potentially try to counter it. And it worked out pretty well for Dwight here.
absolutely. That was a great move. Just stuck the car in the right position there, put pressure on the driver in front, and just let them make the mistake and breeze on by on the inside. That was fantastic, especially after that little wall tap going off wide deep into the corner. Had to receive the position. So, mate, fantastic effort from Dwight there.
Indeed, yeah. So very solid move there from the Haas. But so far, the field is now pretty much spread out quite consistently. Only a few cars within DRS range of each other. You have Filthy Orange Actually, we just lost DRS range of Striker, and then you have Paulin within DRS range of the other Racing Bull of TMT. So this field is really starting to spread out here in this Grand Prix. Yeah, when a field spreads out like this, you don't really have the potential for a safety car to really kind of spawn in, at least not as frequently as TMT decides to pull into the pits. Now, actually, MJP or MPJ just decides to follow him in. So, do you think this is a smart strategy for these drivers to go ahead and pit in right now?
It seems a little early to me. I'd be pushing those mediums as far as you can get them, but I mean, did he have some damage? No, just a change of tyres and off he goes. So I wonder if they're in for a two stop. Do you think the hards can get out 35 laps here at Jeddah?
They would be begging for mercy at that point. I mean,
Hmm.
I think they could, but they'd have to be gentle on these tires. If you had to put the aggression scale on these tires from a 1 to 5, they'd have to run that at probably a 2 to try to go ahead and make sure that these tires can get to the end.
Yeah, you'd want to be very very careful with your ERS management there, and just try not to light up the rears. Obviously, a lot of these drivers are going to be running traction control, but mate, this is an easy track to have your foot flat a little bit too long and still cook them up a bit. So we'll see how TMT gets on. We've jumped on down to MPJ there, who's just on the edge of catching DRS to do wide in front. Again, we've got the Haas drivers bundled together, so hopefully they can work with each other there and really push themselves a bit closer up to TMT. And ahead in position 7 and 8, we've got the Red Bulls sitting pretty alongside each other as well. So it's good to see a couple of teams as we see up the order again there. Oh no, we've got Breadman into the pits, but Filthy up into position 4. That's a fantastic effort. Well done, Filthy.
Indeed, let's just see how many position changes have happened so far, because it's been a while since we checked on that. So, granted, I know pit stops are kind of affecting these stats a bit, but as of right now, MSG and Uncle Morty have moved up 6 positions apiece. Chevy Wolves now being the driver who's moved the furthest back, being 11 positions now, but he did make a pit stop early on to fix some damage he had with his front wing. So that also can really play a factor in that. And I mean, this track, I mean, ideally, just with how aerodynamically dependent these cars are, missing any part of it is not great, but especially on this track. And with that right side being a very crucial side for downforce here around the circuit, then yeah, it's a very, very tough time without that wing.
You've just got to bite the bullet, mate, and jump into the pits and get it changed. Otherwise, yeah, it's just a hell of a drive trying to keep it getting around this track with any part of your wing missing. It's good to see there down in position 15. We've got the Alpine into the points there with Drew Zilla Killer. So Drew had to make an early pit due to some wing damage there. So he's going to be on for another pit stop at some stage. But if he can get the timing right and get that in around when the rest of the field jumps in to do their tyre change, he might be able to maintain that position. So that's promising for Alpine. At least get a point on the board. That's all it's about.
Indeed, and also if you guys are new here to Rush Racing League, there is an overall leaderboard here. So not only are the teams trying to or fight for titles, race wins, points, you name it, in these divisions, but there's an overall leaderboard as well, which I'd be very curious to see how the overall leaderboard stacks up, as it looks like Drew is going to go ahead and try to get another move, but didn't quite have the real estate for it. He's going to try to get a move done onto Chevy. If he's going to get close, he might try to send it here, but yeah, that's not a corner you want to overtake on, because that is 99% of the time going to end up in a crash.
Absolutely. That's where you just want to sit back and give yourself point 0.2 or point 0.3 to the car in front, so you're not catching too much of that dirty air, and just work your way through this winding section of the track there. Patience is key. You've got, I think you said 27 corners, but you've got a lot of straight there to work with as well.
Yeah, it does help that a lot of this track is high speed, and Larkins gets a 3-second time penalty. He'll join the penalty club, And now we see Yog go ahead and make the pit stop. Lap 17. He's going to pit onto the hard tires. We'll see if that's going to help him keep his pace as Filthy Orange is trying to jump into a podium position here. He's going to go ahead and slingshot past the Racing Bull. And the Mercedes man is up in a second. But H-Town is quite a ways ahead. He's got an 11-second gap to Filthy Orange there. Granted, his two closest competitors did make pit stops, but here's something interesting worth noting is that Yog did come out behind Breadman, so did Yog wait a bit too long to shed those mediums and get onto the hards?
I think those 2 laps that he's waited, they might be all the difference in making those tires last to the end there. I think Breadman's going to have a very tricky car to handle as we get towards the last sort of 5 or 6 laps here today. So Yog, I would say that's probably the better move. You really want to stretch those mediums out as far as you can. It looks like he might have gone for the under on his trailing cars there, position 1, 2, and 3, all yet to do their pit stop. Can we switch over to gap to leader, and let's see how that's shaping up so far.
Yeah, so right now we take a look at it. Yeah, Yog is about 16 seconds, so if those top 4 pit in, they're going to end up behind. They're actually probably going to end up behind Uncle Morty or even DM, but granted, those cars still have to pit as well. They're still on those 17-lap old racing mediums. But, I mean, if you can extend that gap, the only issue with extending that gap is, or it's kind of a trade-off, isn't it? It's kind of like heads or tails. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because if you continue to go on, you're going to lose pace over time, but you're going to be quicker in the end, or you pit early and you're quicker to begin with, but you're slower in the end. So you kind of really got to pick your poison when it comes to pit strategy here.
Absolutely, and we see H-Town's got the gap out to 12.2 seconds now, so he is still pushing on pace there. And look, staying out might be the right move for him. I feel like it's around the time where you might want to consider jumping in and while the going's good, get onto those fresh tyres and land yourself probably in behind Yog, but still have a good shot at a potential win.
Speaking of drivers hopping in, we have a request to do a surprise interview with Thunderballs. So, Thunderballs, if you would like, come on in. We'll chat with you for a bit as we continue this race. And there's a pretty nice gaggle of cars here between, look, it's the Aston Martin, the Red Bull, or the Racing Bull, Mercedes, and a Ferrari, all pretty much packed together in a nice little package. Packed together like a package of Oreo cookies as they make their way down turn 26. Going into turn number 27, is there going to be a dive? There has not been a dive yet. And, yes, I did see that. So, Thunderballs, if you can come on into the commentary box, we'll go ahead and chat with you for a bit. So, yeah, I mean...
Yes, hey, China, how you doing?
There you go, there he is. So, how do you feel about this race so far in Saudi Arabia? 100% race for pretty much every division here, so how do you feel about it?
Look, I'm actually pretty proud of Div 6 at the moment. There hasn't even been a VSC, and as we've seen over the voice, or red voice, over the red week race weekend here, or race week, I guess we could call it. Div 1 had its share, Div 2 had its share, Div 4 certainly had its share, Div 5 definitely. So to see Div 6 racing clean so far with only one more div to go, being Div 3, it's quite impressive, to be honest. Field's a little bit spread out. Would have liked it to be a bit tighter, but yeah, it's clean, and pretty happy with the way these guys have taken to the track. We've seen some new names. We've got some returning names as well. So definitely good to see and see what's going to happen. A lot of people are in different cars this season, so it's definitely a welcome thing to see.
Yeah, I think in general, it's always kind of interesting to see drivers kind of adjust to new teams and how teams operate. And even here in the commentary box, it's kind of interesting seeing drivers that we've seen in other cars before, like I remember last season or even seasons prior, Paulin was in a Red Bull. Now he's in an Aston Martin, as Yog actually passes Paulin to go ahead and jump up into P4 on track. And then also the running gag of the governor, aka SJ, playing musical chairs through the eval races before finally settling with Alpine. And so it's interesting to see. So overall, in terms of the divisions, so far there has not been a repeat winner in terms of teams throughout the duration of the races here. So do you think that's going to continue today? Do you think we're going to see a 5th constructor win in 5 races, or are we going to have a first repeat of the season?
Look, never say never. It's too early to tell. I mean, we're only 21 laps into the 50 laps race here at Jeddah. It's a long race. My calves are still feeling the effects from it last night, so anything can happen. Like, it looks like even just going through the S's in Sector 1 there was a close call between Filthy and Paul and Hell. So Filthy ran a little bit wide. Looks like he may have lost a wing, and then Paul and Hell had to slow down. So anything can happen, and you don't want to say that constructors are going to double up, but I think the draft has done really well this year, and I think that was a really good call by the league to do that rather than the way TP's did it in the past. I mean, I've only been around Rush for another year, as Yogg just gets a position and Filthy Orange drops down a couple. Oh, Filthy's gone into the pits, that's why. And H-Town is pitting as well, so that's the interesting one. H-Town looks like he's doing the one-stopper. I'm just hitting a little bit of commentary for you guys. But yeah, so the draft is really shaking some things up, which I think is really good for the league because it mixes the teams up, mixes the talent pool up, and gives everybody a chance to shine, so to speak. So I think that's a really good thing. And I think in about 2-3 weeks' time, we'll see a bit of a change, and we'll start to see things settle in and go from there.
Indeed, yeah. I was just trying to see who that Williams was that was kind of stuck. It was the Williams of Keeper, and I kind of like to think that I kind of took a little thing because they've had so many Americans pop in recently. They took a thing from the American football NFL draft. It's just a little funny thing. But yeah, thank you so much for popping on in, and we'll see you next time.
No worries. Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy the comms box. China, just a little bit of things on my way out. Man, that UI is wild, brother. But yeah, enjoy. Hope everybody that's watching the race is enjoying the race as well. And we hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot.
See you, mate.
I'm kind of curious about this UI that this man is mentioning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. We'll have to get some clarification maybe from him in the chat. And oh, we have a retirement. And I think that does bring out a VSC. MSG Overloaded is out. And yep, it's a VSC on track. Ooh, this is really gonna build the field up.
Thunder has jinxed it, hasn't he? He's come on in right on exiting there. We've got our first safety, even if it is just a VSC. But I think Div 6 gets some credit regardless, mate. Getting 23 laps out at Jeddah without a safety at all, that's great work. That's an example I think that the rest of the league could probably take a couple of lessons from.
Yeah, and it was at probably the most infamous corner, as even Josh has pointed out in the Twitch chat, saying, "Oh look, turn 4, what a shocker!" And oh, that's a shocker. Speeding on the VSC, just jumped it a millisecond too early, and sure enough, Larkins gets another time penalty. That is unfortunate, but it did give a free pit stop to a good chunk of the field, so a lot of the drivers now on the hard tire, with only 2 outliers being Dwight and Jackal pitting to those mediums. They're probably definitely going for a 2-stop at that point, because if you can make a medium go to the end of this race, you'd get driver of the day from me, like hands down, just because of that tire management. But yeah, I don't think so. Those tires are probably going to explode.
You have to wonder, did they go with the wrong tyre allocation at the start and didn't have a set of hards to jump onto, or they just accidentally flicked over to mediums? At least it wasn't a set of wets. I suppose that's a positive. But interesting to see there, Paul and Hill in position 4, 23 laps on the hards, and hasn't jumped into the pits yet. So I wonder if he's gonna jump in this time around.
Yeah, I don't know, because, I mean, if you're on the hards, you would probably try to push him a bit more. I mean, granted, easier said than done, I know, but I would try to get these to maybe lap 30 and then try to jump onto the mediums to at least give my mediums a fighting chance to make it to the end without being a VIP passenger on the struggle bus.
Absolutely. So we've got a Breadman up in front now, and that virtual safety has really condensed things down, but still a 1.7 gap out to Yog, and 2 extra laps on the hard tyres. So they might have just caught the break that they needed to keep those tyres through to the end.
Yeah, maybe, as we see the Mercedes man lap the car of Shaz, and there's another yellow. Oh, that one is cleared up pretty quickly. It was one of the Williams drivers getting stuck in Sector 2, maybe sending it a bit too deep, maybe having a bit of a spin. Luckily, it did not bring out another VSC, but right now it looks like Breadman's pace is pretty solid. He's gaining, I mean, well, I wouldn't say he's really gaining or losing. It's kind of ebbing and flowing as gaps do, but it's staying relatively, never mind, I say relatively consistent, and then he lost 2/10.
Yeah, and 7.7 seconds from Yog out to H-Town. So we've still got those really decent gaps around the field here. And with the exception of Paul and Hell, the top sort of, what have we got? Top 9 drivers there, all on tyres that could probably make it through to the end. I think TNT and MPJ might be really struggling. 10 laps in at lap 25, so they might be up for an extra stop as well.
Indeed, as Chevy Woods gets a 3-second time penalty, adding to the penalty he already has. This actually reminds me of, I forget which division it was. It might have been either a reserve division, or it might have been, I don't think it was Div 2. Regardless, one of the divisions, there was a Ferrari on Interlagos that somehow made a singular set of medium tires go the entire race and only pitted in on the actual final lap of the race. So I've seen some crazy tire management things. Although granted, tire management in F125 versus F124 is a massive night and day difference.
It's a huge difference. There's definitely a better tire degradation model here into F125 in terms of it being maybe not entirely realistic yet, but it's certainly on the way to being. Things like overheating the tires and pushing them at the same time, that really seems to get the wear rate quite high. So managing the heat is definitely a big factor in tire wear, I've found in this version of the game.
Indeed, yeah, it's a night and day difference. We did get a request for another surprise interview. It is the driver of Husey, a former McLaren teammate of the person who redeemed it. Actually, oh, it's Thunder Killer. So we had one Thunder, and now we're having the other Thunder. So, Husey or Thunder Killer, if you'd like to pop on into the commentary box, we would love to have you and just go ahead and pick your brain about a few things as we see Yog picking apart that gap that he had to Breadman earlier. Now within DRS range on the slightly fresher tires. He's got DRS range, he's got the speed, he's got the slipstream, he's shaking for the move, decides to tuck right back on in. But we'll see how this one plays out because there is a lap to McLaren just up ahead. And as something I have learned in my time commentating for endurance racing, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely. And we can see Yogg's just keeping a bit of a gap, which is the smart move there. Just keep out of that dirty air, pick your timing for the overtake. But, he's going to be able to rely on Breadman getting held up by that lap driver at least a little bit. And he might be able to work that toe and really just rocket on by at the appropriate time. So I think he's doing the right thing, just sticking 0.6 behind and picking his mark.
Yeah, they both go ahead and sneak on through past the lap to McLaren of Jamaki. And we'll see how it didn't really seem to affect either driver too much, but Yog is within that DRS range. He's going to go ahead and get closer, but just once again, not enough real estate to go ahead and make the pass happen. I'm just checking to see. And oh, we do have Husey here. Thunder, how are you doing today, mate?
Hey Rickers, how are you?
Doing absolutely fantastic. So, how do you feel about Jeddah being a 100% race?
I hate it. I hate everything about Jeddah. Jeddah is my worst track I've ever done.
Okay, that is the first time I've ever actually heard anyone say they prefer Monaco over Jeddah. Interesting.
I never said that. Never said that.
Just giving you a hard time. But yeah, speaking of Monaco, how do you feel about Jeddah and Monaco being pretty much side by side to each other on the calendar?
It's challenging because you go from a very high speed track to a very technical track the following week.
Yeah, they're two tracks that are well known for their carnage, and whilst I really just take no prisoners, and they will send you to the Shadow Realm if you even glance at them funny. But how do you feel about Div 6 tonight? Because I think Div 6, might have the least amount of cautions out of any division up to this point.
They're doing well. Compared to all the other divisions above them, everyone else has had 4 or 5 DNS by now. So...
Alright, is there anything you want to say to the chat, or anything you would just like to say to the stream?
None. This was a shock.
Yeah, it did seem
Thunder,
kind of...
tell us how you went in your race last night. What was it like for you on track?
The last 20 laps was like skateboarding. I ended up racking up 15 seconds of penalties and dropped myself from 3rd down to 6th.
Oh, that
Absolutely.
is...
So it was a bit of a challenging night.
It was. I didn't have a rear end plate from... It was like lap 31.
Yeah, I mean, not having an end plate around this track is basically a death sentence to any type of good race that you would want to have. So, yeah, I mean, even getting a small front end plate is damaging enough, but getting that rear end plate just sniped off is just, yeah, you might as well just retire at that point.
3rd. Kept 3rd the whole race from lap 41 off Verstappen.
Well,
I think that's a fantastic effort, mate. With getting through to the end and finishing where you did. Even though you had those penalties, they're easy to understand with missing that end plate. So well done, mate. That's a great effort.
Cheers, China.
I agree. Yeah, that's a champion's effort right there. And well, thank you so much for jumping into the commentary box, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of the race.
Cheers. Enjoy.
Oh, we will, because right now we have a very good battle between Yogg and Breadman as Yogg makes his way through, but Breadman's not giving it up without a fight. He is going to go ahead and push in that Mercedes to try to get this position. He's going to DRS now, so he's got to really try to pick his moment and send it. He's trying to do the late braking dummy maneuver that worked on the other Ferrari. Didn't work on this one in particular. So, trying the dummy move again. That seems to be a pretty prevalent strategy on this track, as we've seen a few drivers have attempted it already. Worked on one Ferrari, not so much on the second. But now we go through, and this is where dirty air really starts to bite you.
Absolutely, the car's really easy to unsettle through this section here, but Doing well to keep it on. Losing DRS there quite quickly though. Yog, 1.1 up in front. So you can tell he's really trying to get that gap before the DRS zone comes in, relieve some of that pressure. But they're going to have to be careful to not give up too much time to H-Town with their battling. At the start of Sector 1, they were over 9 seconds in front. They're now down to 8. So looks like H-Town is reeling them on in.
Indeed, yeah, he's really putting in a fantastic effort here. Definitely a step up from the last two races I've seen H-Town in. I saw him in the Singapore Eval race. Didn't really have a good time at it. Same thing in the North America division at Canada. So it's been a tricky time here for the Houston driver. So, but he's been making good roads here tonight. So, but it does look like, at least at this stage, we may be getting our first repeat manufacturer victory, which would be very nice for Ferrari. The Italian team going to go ahead and do wonders in the overalls if they can manage to pull off this win. But right now, taking a few positions back, we do have a battle pretty much as old as time. A Red Bull versus a Mercedes. It is DM versus Orange. And he's going to try to close that gap in. But he does have Paulin just directly behind. He's kind of pulling him in there, trying to get ready to make an overtake and jump back into that top 8.
And Paul has a distinct advantage of getting the double toe there, so that can play a big role here. Help to really reel those two cars in. I know it's a bit early, Wreckers, but if you were to put up a name for driver of the day at this part of the race, who would you put forward?
That is actually kind of a tricky question. I mean, if we take a look at the positions gained here, I mean, TMT has had a fantastic race here today. He's up 7 positions, and at some point even fighting for a podium as DM goes very hard on the brakes and Paulin just slips on through. But obviously Yog's pace has been incredible as well, so it kind of just really is you got to think of which stat you want to go ahead and go with. I'm going to stick with TMT just because of just sheerly how many positions he's made up.
That's a good call there, mate. I think I'd be behind H-Town at this stage of the race. I think they've done a good job to sort of keep themselves competitive and up in the top 3 there. Starting to get to the point where they're going to put pressure on Breadman, so reeled that gap into 6.5, and I think the kick driver tonight's doing a great job at keeping themselves in the mix.
Yeah, there was a yellow flag in Sector 3 just right before turn 27. I think it was the Williams of Hayden getting involved in a little bit of a moment there. Maybe some of the cars just up ahead. I don't see any damage. Actually, wait. Let me see the front of the Ferrari again. Okay, yeah, so the Ferrari is missing a front left end plate. Maybe that was what spawned in the yellow flag, because there is quite a gaggle of cars there. As we see the Racing Bull get past the lapped McLaren of Maki, and yeah, it's been a tough race for some of these teams in particular. I mean, Williams and Alpine haven't really had the greatest of times, but for most other teams, aside from Mercedes, it's pretty much like an up and down, a tale of two cities, if you will. Because if you look at Ferrari, you have a driver that's on the very edge of the points, and then another driver that's about 3 seconds up the road. You look at I guess Red Bull isn't doing too bad itself. And then the Sauber's in a similar position. You have a driver on the podium and another driver that's in the lower reaches of the points. And then you just got Mercedes that potentially might even pull away the most points here out of this race just based on the team positioning.
Yeah, well, position 2 and position 6. So if they can hold those through to the end, that's a great result for Mercedes in overall points, and reasonable positioning for those drivers as well. So yeah, it's good to get some top 10 sort of points on the board out of the gates for the drivers' championship. So we'll look how that rolls out. As we get down the field there, we can see Drew Zilla's up in position 14. So I think that's where he started. Doing not too bad a job at holding their ground. And yeah, where have we got the It's interesting to see there's no McLarens up in the top 10 there. So position 16 and position 11 for the McLarens. A little bit off their performance from last year, but again, early in the season, and a couple of unfamiliar names to me at least there, so they might be early on in their Formula One career.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of Div 6, honestly, is that it's a really good platform for these newer drivers to go ahead and really get themselves established in Rush Racing League. Because I know you know that Rush Racing League is very competitive in every single division. There's hardly ever like a massive blowout when it comes to just drivers. I think even Yogg is a bit on the more rare end to see that much of a gap formed here. But I mean, it's a very competitive league, and not to mention, even if you take away the competitiveness out of Rush, which is basically impossible to do, but even ignoring how competitive Rush is on a consistent basis, doing Jeddah 100% as your first league race is you're basically, it's like, instead of being thrown into like the kiddie pool when you were younger, you're thrown straight to the Mariana Trench.
Mate, if you've been thrown into the deep end of the pool, someone's put the lid on it as well. It is a hard one. Even as a 50% race, it's a lot to keep up with. So, Div 6 and with a lot of new drivers doing exceptionally well to keep it as clean as they have so far. We've got the penalties sort of stacking up across the field there, but again, that's sort of fairly well reflected across the other divisions as well. So. Doing well tonight, and it's good to see some competitive but respectful driving on track tonight.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, like one of the Thunder said earlier, there's pretty much, I think this division has the least amount of DNFs. I think I just saw a Williams just full send into a wall. I did! It is Hayden missing that front wing, just skating on into the wall. I was watching on board with DM, and I just saw a Williams just fly straight on into a wall, like the controller disconnected or something. I mean, hardware failures happen. I think a championship in season 6, I think, was decided because somebody had a wheel failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it happens. It happened to me last season. Touch wood, no disconnects in my first race, but mate, it's devastating when that does happen because what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's really an unfortunate circumstance. But the weirdest thing to me is that Hayden has decided to go around again without replacing that front wing. Because, I mean, if you look at that Williams, that front wing is non-existent.
That's a different way to do 0-0 wings, Wreckers.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I know in Formula One teams kind of struggle with making their car as light as possible, but surely there's a better way to do weight reduction than just removing a whole part of the wing. I know Mercedes in 2022 did the zero pod concept. I've never seen a team do a zero wing concept before. I don't think that's working out too well for the Williams, but maybe we'll have a chat with Dito and see how the Williams R&D is going this season.
Absolutely. I think, Hayden's obviously just going to be reeled in by the few cars behind him. So, and I mean, it's a little bit early in the race to just persevere on. So hopefully they're going to drop into the pits on this lap around.
Oh, speaking of pits.
Unless, of course, they've dropped into AI mode. AI mode does do a few odd things from time to time, keep you pushing around the track.
Yeah, like I've said before, previous Rush streams, the AI in the F1 games kind of forgets the intelligence part of artificial intelligence. Kind of misses that intelligent part. So, they do some very bizarre things. But, yeah, it's kind of bizarre that we didn't see Hayden jump into the pits yet. Now he's made it into the pits. But speaking of drivers who have made a pit stop, Breadman has actually made a pit stop, so he went for the 2-stop, and now he's on the mediums. The question is, can he catch up to H-Town and Yog?
16 seconds gap there on the mediums with 14 laps to go. I mean, what do you got to pick up then? Just a little bit over a second per lap to jump into position 2, and nearing on 2 seconds a lap there to get up to the win. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a little bit of a stretch, but who knows?
I mean, another thing is that maybe a safety car could come out, and that would really, like, a full safety car would really spice this race up. I think it would really bunch this pack together, and it'd be probably the best chance for Breadman in particular to go out and get a win here. But anybody could get a win off of this stage, as TMT does make a pass onto Paulin on fresher tires, those 5-lap old racing hards, doing the work as they move him up into P5. I noticed that earlier Mercedes was in a pretty good spot to take away a good chunk of points. But I think we kind of slept on Racing Bulls here, because Racing Bulls, P4 and P5, they're going to get a world of points here.
Absolutely. So Striker's going to have a bit of a work in front of them. They've got to push those hards out to 30 laps, but I tend to feel that's doable. It's just whether you can keep that race pace throughout throughout particularly those last sort of 5 or 6 laps. You know, it's sort of going to be hard to tell whether they can keep that speed on. You know, they might do a position swap and TMT sort of take over. But keeping Paul and Hill off the tail of them is really going to be the key there. I can see that he's tucked in there, 0.8 behind, sitting in DRS, and I tend to think he's just going to reel them on in slowly but surely.
I'd be curious to see if that comes to fruition, because a shock podium for the Racing Bulls would be absolutely fantastic for them in the overalls. But even with DRS, Paulin really wasn't catching that much, if at all hardly, through the DRS zone. So TMT's definitely got some wicked pace right now. So he's got a bit of a task ahead of him, but I think he is able to go ahead and continue on and just get it done, because, I mean, Paulin isn't really catching up. He's on older tires, and the mediums are going to fall away quicker than the hards do, especially around this track, especially with that dirty air. But interesting stuff. Oh, well, there we go. That kind of seals the deal, as Paulin gets a 3-second time penalty for his efforts. So that pretty much that's going to give TMT so much more breathing room.
Absolutely, and that's going to push, Filthy can keep that gap down under 3 without a penalty. He's in line for a free place there, but he's got to keep the pressure on and keep under that 3-second gap. Really push through the later half of this race.
Yeah, actually, I do want to check something. I think he did fix it. Yeah, I was actually checking in on the Williams. Yeah, I mean, Williams, I feel bad for Dito, because Dito's probably got a migraine right now, seeing his team not doing super well in today's race. It just seems like, and if anything else, it just seems like Williams has just been unfortunate, which last season was another situation of just Williams having a lot of unfortunate moments, particular in Division 2 with XD Lamb having his Xbox give out on him on numerous occasions, where it became an unfortunate running gag about Division 2 is that if XD Lamb was in a position to win a race, then his Xbox would fry itself, which is very unfortunate. I mean, if I try to run this on my PS4 Pro, I'd probably do the same thing, to be fair.
It's come on, mate. It's not like a Microsoft product to let anyone down. I'm sure there might have been other reasons there, but no, that's very unfortunate. Having the Xbox crash out, bit of an issue there. Yeah, I know. I certainly had I'm on PC, and I had a few failures along the season. There was nothing more frustrating than just having it crash out, especially if you're on pace. During a race, just getting that black or blue screen sinks the heart, unfortunately.
Yeah, or like, cause before I took up a streaming role with Rush, I used to just commentate from my laptop. It's a pretty nice laptop. It's an MSI GE78. It's a pretty decent laptop. But for whatever reason, it F1 games are like kryptonite to it. So there's a lot of times we would be mid qualifying session or mid race, and then I just get sent back to the home screen, and my system would just straight crash. Which luckily I wasn't operating the stream at that point, but still it's very unfortunate and pretty annoying, especially with the sometimes non-existent invite system of of the F1 games in general, just typical EA shenanigans, if you will. But yeah, actually, as I'm reading in chat, Williams, they've had a rough start to the season. A double DNF in Div 2, and a non-point score here is looking pretty likely. So yeah, Williams is not really in the greatest of positions, but like you said earlier, China, it is very early days here.
Very early days, mate, and if you're going to have some bad luck, let's get it out of the way at the start of the season. There's probably a few lessons in today's race that they'll be able to take away for Hayden and Keeper. Look, you know,
Oh,
a lot of the season left to go.
hey, I think I see a safety car.
Oh, there's a safety, yeah.
I see a safety car. Chat.
Who's how did
I
he
don't
get
know
that?
who's went off. Yeah, there's a safety car. All right, well, I mean,
can't
there was a
see
request to
who
pull up
that's
tires,
for.
and that was a good chance to pull up tires because everybody's coming into the pits. But wait, Breadman might not.
Or
Oh, well, that's unfortunate for
we
H-Town.
see Drew Ziller has jumped onto the soft, and
Yeah, Yogg's
so
on the
is Yogg.
softs. Breadman's probably going to be
Jazz.
on the softs too. H-Town went for the mediums. We see softs going on for Breadman. So,
I don't know how these drivers are going to do it, but mate, 10 laps on the softs here at Jeddah. I don't know if I'd be able to do it.
now, if this was 24, you'd definitely be able to get these soft tires to the end. But once again, this is a completely different game with a completely revamped tire model. Especially if you're playing on controller, because I heard that if you play on controller, the tire wear is so much worse than the wheel. I mean, granted, I play on a controller myself, but so I haven't had the wheel for a comparison, but I believe it.
Yeah, I think they got rid of the tire wear advantage from F1 24. That was a little bit of an advantage for the controller players, where your tires might sort of just hang on for a bit longer. I don't think that's carried over to 25. But look, I'm open to being proven wrong. It looks like most of the field disagrees with me there, and they're probably going to get 1 or 2 laps under safety, so they might be able to drag in the last sort of, what would it be, 8 laps or so on the softs.
Yeah. So here's something I don't think we ever really figured out. Do we know what actually caused the safety car? Because I honestly have no idea what caused the safety car. Nobody's out of the race. MSG DNF'd a long time ago. I just don't know what would have caused that safety car though.
Drew Ziller was first into the pits, so he might have been either involved or just very very fortunately placed to jump into the pits early. So see, he just gained a position under safety.
And also, I did notice that there's a 10-second time penalty for the Williams of Hayden for speeding in the pit lane, and Williams' night just continues to be problematic. It's not been a good week for Williams, but hopefully they'll get to bounce back next week, because I know that Williams squad has a bunch of very talented drivers, and I'm sure Hayden and Keeper, they can be very good on their day. It's just today's just not their day, and yeah, like
And Chevy Wolves has just retired.
Okay, that I don't know if that actually would extend the safety car or not.
And I don't know if I missed something, but H-Town picked up a 10-second speeding in the pits.
Yeah, he did. He did that when he made his pit stop earlier.
Oh, right.
So
Quite unfortunate. Puts him
actually,
out of the mix. But yeah.
I think also Chevy retired on track, so that's I think that's a penalty. So, because I believe, I don't know if this has been amended, because I know there's been a few rule changes in recent times, but I'm pretty sure if you retire on track, unless it's a crash or something, um, then you get penalized for it. I'm pretty sure. So, be
I
interesting
believe
to
so.
see what
Yeah,
the
it carries
stewards do
over the
about
next
that.
race. Mm.
Accidental retirement
So that's a big hit for the
for the
for the
Sauber.
kicks there. A car DNF'd and position 2 sitting in a good spot, but unfortunately with that 10 seconds, that's going to drop them right back through the field.
Yeah, so the safety car was really the worst thing imaginable there for H-Town. Well, I mean, the safety car was a decent thing to begin with, but then it just got kind of screwed up there by that 10-second time penalty. Because I think H-Town is probably on the wrong tire, personally. I mean, because these guys on the softs, and I mean, I trust Josh with these stats, because he also races quite a lot here at Rush Racing League. They wear about 10.5% per lap in terms of the soft tires in race trim. So it'll be interesting to see if these drivers can really keep this in. We're still going around for another lap, so it'll be lap 44 at the earliest that we're going to go ahead and get back to racing action here in Division 6. But I think this really opens it up for Breadman to potentially get a win here. I mean, Yogg's got pace, but we'll see how this one goes, because actually something I just now kind of really noticed is the lapped Alpine of, I believe that is Shaz, is directly ahead of Breadman. So Breadman's gonna have a bit of a tough time going into turn 1 with that Alpine still just kind of being there.
Absolutely, they're going to have a little bit of a job getting them out of the way, getting past them, and moving on. But, who have we got through the field here? So yeah, basically everyone has gone over to the softs there. Yogg's obviously got the position there, and look, I tend to think they're just going to be too hard to beat with 5 or 6 laps to go once the safety drops in. Don't know. Actually, in Division 5, we had the safety go in very late, around lap 21, I think it was. It really only went into that final hairpin back on the straight. So I think that safety is going to be in this lap,
Yeah, so
and they'll have 6 laps to go.
yeah, so those racing tires are gonna be those racing softs are gonna be about 60% tire wear. But so we do have a question for the commentators. Who do you think is gonna win this race? Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll let you go first on this one.
Mate, I think that's an easy answer. I think Yogg's got this one in the bag unless something disastrous happens on restart. They've been the pace to beat all night, and sitting out front on safety restart, that's a great position to be in with 6 laps to go, and that's going to be very hard to overcome. So I think Yogg's got this one tonight.
Yeah, I find it pretty hard to disagree with that sentiment. I mean, Young's been on the ball all night. He has pretty much been right on the pace. He has done exactly everything he needs, and on top of that, he's got a fantastic restart here, as Yog is going to go ahead and make his way down into turn 1. A fantastic gap to him and H-Down, already pulling off a second just before the first corner. A yellow flag infringement for Drewzilla, getting a 10-second penalty for that. That's a weird one.
What?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. What
How
yellow?
does that happen? He's on restart.
Huh? Speaking of yellows, there's another yellow. I don't know what's going on at this point. Definitely chaos here towards the end. H-Town's caught up quite a bit to the front of Yog, or to the back of Yog. Hayden gets another time penalty for his efforts, but right now Breadman is already 2 seconds behind. So unless they're ignoring a blue flag now. So What's next? We're gonna get a penalty for ignoring a green flag or a red flag or something. We've pretty
What's
much ignoring
going
every
on
flag under the
here?
rainbow. Maybe
Yeah,
they're
there's
taking
something odd going
the.
on that restart, mate. There's something's happening there.
Maybe they took a page from the F1 movie script for the scrapped plans of having the Jeddah race involved in the movie Plan C for Chaos. As
Oh, and it looks are the times off as well. Larkin's at plus 130 and Shaz plus 136.
Yeah, EA is definitely doing some EA things right now as we are down to the final 6 laps of the Grand Prix. I think we really got to start talking about driver of the day now, I believe. Another ignoring the blue flag penalty? I mean, Alpine, your car is blue. How do you get a blue flag violation? I'm actually
Come
baffled.
on.
Um,
Something's happened with those that
Oh, that might be
Larkins
retirement
and
on track.
Shaz, I think.
It is a no. It's not a retirement on track. I don't know what happened there. I'm at a loss for words. I'm actually just the buffoon is flummoxed. I have no idea what's going on anymore. We went from having probably the most peaceful race of the entire week to now tomfoolery afoot.
Someone behind the EA server thought there wasn't enough chaos, and they flicked that switch on for us in the last few laps, which is it's a real shame for Div 6 because they've done so well throughout. But yeah, mate, I think something's up with this lobby.
It might be, yeah. Oh, there we go. Another 10-second penalty for ignoring blue flags and a safety car. Again. Oh, severe collision with. But, yeah, this lobby's gotta be chalked. There's. I mean, do we red flag it at this situation?
Yeah, so.
Do we red flag this? I don't know. I guess it's up to the
So I think
division
that's
manager.
up to the onboard, yeah.
Because I mean, at this point, we would have to red flag the lobby and then do a 5-lap sprint, which is possible in this game. But do we do it at this rate? So, yeah.
We'll
So
have to wait for some feedback from from the onboard just
according
to
to
let us know what
Dynasty,
the.
there is not going to be a red flag according to Dynasty because 5 laps and then the pens can get removed. So they're going to put in tickets for the bugged out penalties. So they'll get those 10 seconds back. So they can put in tickets for that. But yeah, this has been a
So
weird
all
end to the
drivers
race.
just try and ignore those nonsensical penalties and just keep pushing on. I mean, it's also odd to get a safety at lap 45.
Oh, the race actually would just be considered done apparently according to people in chat. I mean, at this point, the race is just about practically over. You're probably gonna get like 2 racing laps, maybe 3 at most. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, I would have red flagged this personally, just because once again, once we're done with the safety car, it's gonna be another maybe 2-3 laps at best that we get racing laps in for. So yeah, I guess now since we have a little bit of this downtime here, I guess we could just do driver of the day, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's get driver of the day, and so that's up to us now, or do we put it out for a vote?
I think we can give our opinion, and then I think there is a vote that goes through the Twitch chat. But I mean, my vote's still for the Racing Bull of TMT, especially just considering all the tomfoolery and chaos that has happened here in the last few laps. He's kept his nose clean. He's up 6 positions, and overall, he has done a fantastic job here. And he can get 7 if he jumps his teammate.
Well, mate, I'd be right behind you there with TMT, and I think just for another option, I might chuck the Red Bull of David in there, up 5 positions, in the top 10, and I think they've done well to cement themselves some points in this race.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good point. He does have a 3-second penalty, though, for track limit violation, but looking
Oh,
at,
hang on. Yeah, I've missed that. Yeah.
looking at Twitch chat, they are seemingly in agreement with the vote for TMT being driver of the day. Um, we could get him in here after this when we do our interviews, but I mean, in general, what are your thoughts about this? Well, that's another penalty. This time it's Hayden. Severe collision with Jamaki here, or J Mackey. I don't even see damage on that car, so I'm confused on how
But
that one
they were
plays out.
nowhere near. They were nowhere near each other, I don't think.
I mean, what is this, 2020? I guess Hayden got a penalty for violating social distancing, like it is 2020. That's the only way you can see a penalty being given out here. Very weird.
I'd be right behind you there with TMT, mate. I think if I have a better look at that, 6 positions up, no penalties, in the top 5. We'll end up in position 4 potentially, with H-Town dropping down a few spots from their 10 seconds. So, mate, I think TMT's a no-brainer there.
Yeah, so I think in terms of getting like official nominations for driver of the day, since we got to put a few, TMT is definitely up there. We could still throw in DM just because of how consistent he's been. You can also throw in Yog as well, just because of how strong his pace is. And there are 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and it's a good restart and a good launch there. Breadman sending it up. Oh, and these 2 cars go very wide there. H-Man gets a penalty for being forced off the track. Getting a 3-second time penalty. That's going to drop him even further, but it's going to put the Racing Bulls into good position. And, oh, Striker jumps up into P2. Where did that come from?
Oh,
The
no, a
Racing
little
Bull.
bit wide.
And H-Town gets another 10-second penalty. Penalties are everywhere. You get a penalty. You get a penalty. Everybody's getting penalties at this stage. It is only 3 laps left to go. Yog is already pulling off into the distance. And the Racing Bull's up in a second.
This is a chaotic end to this race after having such a clean race through 40 odd laps. The last 5 is certainly a bit of chaos here, but look, I think Yog's gonna take this out, and yeah, it's surprising to see Strikers jumped up there into position 2. That's very well done from the Racing Bulls, and TMT will also jump up in a P4, so that's a great result for that team.
Yeah, Racing Bulls definitely won out today, like by a long shot. I mean, if we had a team of the day, it would definitely be Racing Bulls, 100%. I mean, Striker, potentially getting a podium. If I knew this was going to happen, I might actually give him a driver of the day, as we see more of these ignoring blue flag penalties getting thrown about. DRS isn't able, so we got 2 laps of DRS, and H-Town's going to try to send it up the inside of Striker. He gets that move done, but he will lose it considering the ripe amount of penalties. He would lose that time even before the weird lobby bug happened, but I mean, Striker's dropped back down to 4th. He did lose 2 positions there, but still, I mean, this is still a good result for Racing Bulls.
Absolutely a good result for Racing Bulls. I think they're still going to have a car on the podium there, and TMT in position 4 most likely. Oh no, Striker's down.
Oh, Striker's got rear wing
Striker's
damage.
losing position. Oh no.
And he's got missing end plate too, so Striker's race, he was doing so well. And honestly, I was kind of rooting for him to get that podium, because that would be fantastic. A fantastic, just opportunistic moment there for the Racing Bull, but I guess Striker just got struck a bit too hard on that rear wing, and now he's just dropping like a stone as we go ahead and get ready to start the final lap of this Grand Prix. I guess we're putting a plea in for these nonsense penalties to go away, but final lap of the Grand Prix. It's pretty much done and dusted at this point, unless Yog somehow bends it. And it's going to be Yog taking the win here, but still a fight. Actually, TMT is on track for a podium here.
TMT still, maintaining their position in P4, so that surely will they'll stick up into P3 once the penalties are taken into consideration. It'll be important note for all the TPs and drivers to make sure we get our race director. There's going to be a lot of work ahead for the stewards. I think a lot more than 2 hours in reviewing penalties here tonight and seeing what needs to be removed. But certainly a lot of valid cases there. I could see a lot of blue flag overtakes, severe collisions where the cars were nowhere near each other. A lot of odd behaviour from the EA servers tonight.
Yeah, I agree, and this time it's not the driver's fault. This time because last or Sunday night was definitely the drivers getting into it and getting a little feisty. But this time it's just EA servers getting a little feisty. And then just a reminder for the steward in Division 6, it's Monaco next week, so have fun with that one. But a driver who is definitely having fun, and he's going to get ready to celebrate now. He is pretty much dominated from lights out to the checkered flag, making Ferrari the first constructor to get 2 wins this season. Yog wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. H-Town behind, and he does drop like a stone throughout this field. Breadman gets a penalty, and TMT gets driver of the day and a P3 finish. What a drive.
What an absolutely fantastic drive from TMT there. Was hanging around the mid-pack for most of the night, but sort of slowly edged their way up into the top 10, and to finish in P3, that's just a fantastic effort.
Indeed, yeah. So, I mean, what a drive from all these drivers here. I mean, TMT getting a podium was not on, I think, anyone's bingo card at the moment, but he still got that podium. A fantastic drive, and the vote hasn't officially finished yet, but, I mean, oh, it did end. So, yeah, driver of the day, it was between himself and Yog. It was 8-5 in terms of the votes. But, yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic drive for all these drivers. I mean, Yog just had such pace through the get-go of this race. I mean, what are your thoughts on this race? Because this was a pretty hectic one.
Mate, I thought it was going to be a lot tidier than the last sort of few
He's
laps.
hitting the gritty. When did they add this to the game? Sorry, that just caught me off guard.
Mate, look, I think Div 6 has got a lot to be proud of, for that first half of the race. Minimal safeties. It's sort of unknown as to what issues were caused at the end there, but I think overall we've had a reasonable race on tonight.
I 100% agree. So going through our finishing results, these are all provisional due to the massive amount of blue flag penalties that are likely to get removed. We have Yog taking the race victory, followed by Breadman, TMT, Filthy Orange, MPJ, DM, Striker, VSC, and then we have Uncle Morty, D White, Jackal, H-Town Realtor, Drewzilla, and then Hayden, Larkins, J Mackey, Keeper, Shaz, Chevy Wolves, and MSG. So that is the end of the race here. But before we go ahead and let you guys go tonight, we have some interviews. So if Yog, Breadman, and TMT would like to come into the commentary box for a quick interview, we would love to have you guys in here.
And I've just captured the race director there, and mate, that screen was scrolling down forever. So at least the stewards get paid overtime, I hear.
Do they? Huh. I guess I'm going to become a steward then, if that is the case. So we're going to go ahead and hop on over to any interviews. Do we have any of the interviewees currently in chat at the moment?
Yeah, Bread's here, mate.
Yep.
All right.
TMT's here.
All right, so we got 2 out of the 3. China, who do you want to take for an interview?
Mate, let's jump on a TNT driver of the day.
All right.
And P3.
I'll let you go ahead and
The
take
more
that
important
one.
of the two, I think.
TNT, well done, mate. Up into the podium, P3 tonight. Looked like a really consistent drive from you. This evening, I think you've done exceptionally well to land a podium there. Tell us a little bit about how the race went from your perspective.
It was definitely an interesting race. I should have qualified higher, but I got absolutely murdered on my final run by Yob. So, see you in the stewards. But I actually can already tell you the ticket got made because I got tagged already. Um, but the race was pretty straightforward because there wasn't really any major shakeups until the lap 40 safety car. I was committed early to a two stop, and so um, because I'd been told the tire wear was a lot higher than I found it, so ended up going with the two stop, and yeah, didn't pick up any track limits warnings, and I think I only barely nicked a wall, I think twice, and that was about it. So yeah, I think I was only ever pushing it about 85-90% just because I knew that I didn't want to make any mistakes. I think like 40 when the safety just about a minute before the safety car came out, I almost ate the wall at like turn 5 because I rode the curb, and then um, the safety car came out. We went on softs, and I was like, great, that's the last thing I need because now I can push harder.
Mate, I think that was an exceptional effort, and maybe holding back a little bit around that 85-90% of a push. That's paid off tonight. Certainly in the end, there climbing yourself up to P3. I'll hand you over to Wreckers.
All right. Once again, TMT, fantastic job. Driver of the day, P3. We didn't initially have that on the bingo card considering in the early stages how far ahead H-Town, Yogg, and Breadman were. But overall, how do you like Jeddah as a track? Because I've heard that either you love this track or you hate it.
It's always been a track that I've been north and south at. I'm either doing very well or doing absolutely horrible. So it's a track I love. I love all street tracks. They seem to be where I get most of my podiums. Funnily enough, my first ever podium came in round 2 of season 3 at Rush here in Jeddah. So nice sort of callback to get my second podium at the track. But no, I'm very keen for Monaco next week. Similar sort of style, just slow rather than high speed. But no, straight tracks are where I tend to do a lot better. So hopefully, gonna back it up next week with another strong performance.
So what I'm hearing is that we might have a king of the streets here in Division 6, and it is a Racing Bull instead of a Red Bull with Sergio Perez. But all right, once again, fantastic job. I was gonna ask you about Monaco, but you already kind of gave me your thoughts about that track. So do you think there's gonna be rain at Monaco?
Honestly, I kind of hope so.
I
Just because
see.
it'll really shake things up. But no, I've always tried to make myself a driver who just thrives on consistency. I've never been outright quick, so I figured rather than just being fast, because I'm not good at that, if I can just avoid getting penalties both on and off track and uh, taking damage, then I can make up points that way, and it worked today. So hope to back up with that same sort of style in Monaco.
Indeed, yeah. Consistency is what can win championships. I mean, you could be the fastest driver for one race, and then you just fall off for the rest, and you're not going to win that championship compared to somebody who's consistently getting P2, P3, P4, and those upper positions. But speaking of penalties, did you hear about all the blue flag penalties that were being dished out because the server decided to not cooperate super well?
Yes, I was getting informed throughout the later stages of the race by my radio engineer, calling out penalties basically the entire race. And then it was like all of a sudden it was just 10 second, 10 second, 10 second, 10 second. We're like, what on earth is going on? I had a bit of a clue that it'd be the back markers with the blue flags, especially after those safety cars. I think there was an Alpine that was running in front of Bread on the first safety car restart, that got out of the way after turn 2 and let like 4 or 5 of us pass, but then got pinged with a penalty anyway. So I had a bit of a feeling it was going to happen throughout the grid if that was the case for him. So yes.
All right, so that's pretty much all we have for you. Thank you so much for popping on in. And once again, congratulations on Driver of the Day and P3.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
All
mate.
right, so we are going to head over to Breadman, our driver in P2. So, Breadman, it's been a tricky race for you, but you were pretty much consistently in that top three.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel that Jeddah treated you tonight?
I felt all right to about lap 40, and the restart happened, and two restarts happened, and it went a bit pear shaped, but held on. But see what the stewards have to say.
All right, so it's you go from one tough street track to another tough street track next week with the Monaco Grand Prix. It's not a full race distance, which I'm sure you're probably pretty relieved to hear after tonight's events. But how do you feel around Monaco?
I'm all right on Monaco. Don't love it, don't hate it. Be about middle of the pack, I reckon. Probably not as fast as Jeddah for me, but we'll see how we go.
All right, so do you expect that there's going to be some kind of weather shenanigans at Monaco?
I reckon we'll have some rain early on in the season. Cause a bit of chaos.
All right, yeah. I guess the last question I'm going to ask you before passing you off to China is, did you also become aware of the blue flag shenanigans going on after that second safety car restart?
I had an idea of it because I saw all the back markers start slowing down and then speed up again. So I assumed there's a few penalties being handed out because I know that happens with the game.
Yeah, I mean I lost track of how many penalties, and I feel bad for the stewards because it was difficult last night or on Sunday night for the Div 4 steward because of just a bunch of drivers getting spicy on track. I should have not said it like that, but they were getting a little feisty with each other. So a few penalties that way, but this one is all mostly just game side fault. So I feel bad for the stewards there. But once again, congratulations on P2, and I'll pass you over to China.
Thank you.
Hey Brett, how we doing? Good effort tonight. P2 in the bag early in the season. That's good to see, mate.
Yeah,
I won't
thank you.
focus on tonight's race too much. You won lap pace in Monaco. How do you feel like you go? Do you think that's going to keep you still in the mid pack, or you can bang out a decent one lapper?
No, I reckon it'll be mid. Well, qualifying's everything on Monaco, so if you qualify bad, you don't have much chance of making it up. Just got to keep it clean. But yeah, I reckon I can hang around the midfield somewhere, get a few points. I think that'll be the goal heading into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Div 6 tonight, mate, did really well with keeping the safeties out of it until, about halfway through. Did you feel like the whole race was going to be pretty clean, or could you sort of sense a little bit of, maybe desperation or driver frustration through the halfway point of that race?
I was surprised we lasted that long, to be honest. I think we had one DNF before that, lap 40, but these long races, little bit of concentration lost, and then all of a sudden it's a safety car and we're all together.
Absolutely. Well, mate, we know the stewards are going to have their work cut out for them today, but it looks like you might sort of steer clear of most of the penalties. So your position looks like it'll stick there. Well done on the race, and we'll keep it short and sweet and move on.
Thank you.
See you,
See you
mate.
guys.
All right, last but most certainly not least, we have the race winner and the driver with the fastest lap, and the man that pretty much dominated this entire race. We have Yog. So Yog, how are you doing today? I mean, a fantastic win, a dominant win, and you made Ferrari the first constructor of the season to get 2 wins.
Yeah, I've just been practicing all week with Flubber and them. Really excited about the win. It's my first league race.
I mean, I think you made a mighty fine impression entering your first ever league race and winning your first ever league race. That is always, I mean, that's impressive. Winning a league race here at Rush is impressive to begin with, just because there's such a high level of competition. But to take such a commanding win like you did is extremely impressive. Do you think you could keep that up at Monaco, though, is the question.
Yeah, I had pretty good pace in Monaco. I should be able to qualify high again, but I hear talks of me getting moved up and also a qualified ban coming in. So
Oh, that is unfortunate, but
I, I was the one that took TNT out.
yeah, we did catch that on the broadcast. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It does happen though, but I mean the best thing, because I know you're new to league racing, the best thing is just learn from it and be better in the next round.
Yeah, I'll do my best to be better and more aware next time.
And I mean it's your first league race, so I mean like I'm trying to say towards the beginning of the broadcast, racecraft is something learned over the duration of your time, and I think you'll do pretty good. I mean your pace is certainly on track. So, and speaking of China, I'll pass you over to him.
Hey, Yog, mate, really well done on tonight's result there. You obviously you had the pace, and you know there's a bit of chatter around about whether you should be in Div 6 or Div 5 or not. Tell us a little bit about the practice regime that you had leading up to this race.
The Ferrari team, we've been practicing every day, especially before the races of every division. Really just been pushing each other to be better.
And that can obviously make a huge difference. So you know, obviously there can be some driver movement throughout the season, and not everyone is placed correctly, but you know, it looks like this track really suited your driving style tonight. You clearly had the pace on the field there, especially out of the quali. But you know, you've put in the time and got the result out of it, and we'll see how Monaco stacks up for you. How do you feel about Monaco? You got some confidence there. This is obviously a first league race, but have you done a few laps and put in a bit of practice on that one as well?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident about my pace on Monaco, but might start in the back of the pack, which is unfortunate.
It
I
is
should be able
unfortunate,
to
mate.
make up some places for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Look, it's unfortunate. There'll be, you know, without any doubt, there'll probably be some safeties on there as well. So there might be, you know, there might be some strategy positions to pick up throughout the race. Um, you know, from your end, it's going to be about keeping it as clean as you possibly can, and just you know, maximising on any opportunity you get throughout the race. How are you going with your teammate? You feel like you guys could work well together throughout the season?
Well, actually, I'm just a reserve. It's actually uh, L and Quicksilver are the
Oh, of
Div 6
course,
for Ferrari.
of course. So, in as a reserve, mate, are you looking to find a full time seat?
Yeah, I'm looking for a full-time seat, but for now, I'm uh, just gonna practice with Ferrari. They have a pretty good team and really good weekly schedule of how to get better.
That's
So
great,
I'm
mate.
looking for
That's
that
great to
Ferrari
hear.
seat.
That is good. I know the TP over there, and yeah, they like a bit of structure. They like some practice, and they certainly like helping their drivers sort of improve over the season, mate. So I think you've done really well out of the gates, and I'll let you get moving on. But well done on the race win.
I think I'll.
All right, so that is Division 6 Jeddah 100% race. It was a very clean start to the race, and then after that, after the first safety car came out, it just kind of devolved into chaos there. To no fault of the drivers. I think Division 6 did absolutely fantastic, but China, what are your final thoughts?
Mate, I'd probably just summarise what you said there. I think they were on for a yeah, for a really good sort of clean race out of the gates. You know, 100% at Jeddah. That's certainly into the deep end, and I think for 40 odd laps, the field did really well at finding their position in the field and maintaining it. And you know, safety car sort of followed. Maybe there was a bit of driver frustration in there, and then obviously, EA server up to its old tricks and dishing out penalties left, right, and centre. So we'll see which ones of those stick and which ones get wiped away. But I think most of the field there, they've had a race they can be proud of.
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, even though Yog is he's under investigation for that quali incident earlier on, but I think in general Yog for his first league race, I mean, thrown into deep end is a definite understatement. You're getting thrown into Jeddah 100%. Getting thrown into any 100% race is tricky enough to start off with for your first league race, let alone Jeddah. But yeah, and I think Ferrari as a collective are going to be the team to watch this season because they're off to a really good start. 2 wins, they got a Division 1 win and a Division 6 win. But can they pick up a Division 5 win and make it 3 wins in the first week? Well, you guys are going to have to tune in tomorrow at the same time for the final race of the week, Division 5 in Jeddah. Alongside Chana, it was myself, Rekus, aka Patrick Coleman, commentating here tonight. And once again, a massive shout out to our sponsors, Sim Racing Center, SimLab, Pagnian Advanced Simulation, and an AI 369. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.